Boy escapes from YouTuber's house of horrors. Don't know what we're getting into, but let's sit back and relax while we can, because I have a feeling we won't be able to relax for long.
Hi, I was just wondering if you could do 2 favors.
Well, what are they?
Taking me to the nearest police station.
What's going on, son? Have a seat there.
It's personal business.
Ring, ring, ring.
Whoa!
Oh,
Wait a minute, how do you come in my house?
And I'm a good woman. I don't do naughty things.
The lives of family lifestyle influencers Jodi Hildebrandt and Ruby Franke.
Jodi Hildebrandt and Ruby Franke. Does anyone in chat know those names? Does anyone know those names? Because I don't know those names. Anyone recognize it? They're a Mormon family channel? Okay.
Exploded on August 30th, 2023, when one of Ruby's 6 children was discovered weak and hurt. The other 5 had not been accounted for at this time, and law enforcement wasted no time in launching a full investigation. As the police delved into the twisted dynamic that had grown between the 2 women, they never could have anticipated the depths of the depravity.
I don't know what I'm looking at here. I'm gonna take the off chance and say maybe that's blood, but it also looks like pizza sauce.
The children were subjected to,
What
or
is
the
that?
mind-boggling justifications offered by the perpetrators.
I just want my kids back. I want my family back.
Adults have a really hard time understanding.
I want my family back.
You're not about to just skim over this. Big day for evil. E manipulates me. She won't scream when dad is around, but with me, she wails all night. E screamed, cried, and would hit her head on the tile floor. Today, Judy confronted her. E admits to putting on a show for her mother. E says she wants to be pitiful. ER was told to stand in the sun while the sun with his sun hat. He is defiant. No. I tell him a couple, or I should say his dream. I'm trying to understand. I can't.
Adults have a really hard
Big day for evil.
time understanding that children can be full of evil and what that takes to fight it.
The following report is based on police records. When Dan Clarkson answered his doorbell at 10:46 a.m. on August 30th, 2023, he never could have expected his actions would kickstart a nationally publicized police investigation. However, as soon as he laid eyes on the young boy outside, he immediately knew something was very, very wrong. His Ring camera captured the heartbreaking conversation that ensued.
The fact that they're blurring his legs definitely means that he gets beat on his legs. Face is probably for security reasons. The legs, they're probably blurred because he gets beat on his legs.
Yes.
Like he has some type of markings.
Wondering if you could do 2 favors.
Well, what are they?
Taking me to the nearest police station. Well, actually, just one's fine.
What's going on, son? Have a seat there.
It's personal business.
This was actually the second neighbor the boy had attempted to contact. At the first house, there was no answer, so he'd been forced to move on.
Probably either no one home or not trusting a random boy coming to the doorstep, because I could understand that. It really depends on where you live, though. Like, if I'm in a neighborhood and I'm surrounded by other, like where the neighborhood's very tight, compact, and I'm surrounded by a bunch of people, it's the middle of the day, you know. And, like, I'm not thinking about that, but it's a crazy world we live in.
The disturbing reason he was seeking help came out when Dan made this emotional call to 911.
Walker, you know that guy that made someone watch wall drive for 10 hours? No, but that sounds like a Mr. Beast challenge. Watch this wall drive for 10 hours, and if you survive the whole challenge, you'll get $1 million. But if you fail, we will take your family's house and y'all will be homeless.
1.
I just had a 12-year-old boy show up here at my front door asking for help. Said he had just came from a neighbor's house. He's hungry and he's thirsty.
While Dan was on the phone with the 911, his wife gave the boy, who introduced himself as Russell, snacks to eat.
They're not covering up anyone else's legs, so he must have something crazy going on with his legs.
While waiting for help to arrive. But shockingly, there was something more appalling about the boy's condition than his extreme malnutrition.
He has duct tape around his
injuries. There's sores around them.
Yeah, there's sores around him. I think the good chance he's been.
He also has.
Oh, and he has around his ankle
as well.
I mean, his wrist as well. Okay, this boy has been.
Needs immediate attention.
And yet, the most heartbreaking revelations were yet to come.
Okay, this boy has been.
Actual photo? What are we looking at? Okay, so these are actual photos. I don't know what that too is.
I think he's been.
Plastic wrap? What the heck is that? Castor.
He's been detained. He's obviously covered in wounds. He says what's happened to him is his fault.
We need the police here now.
The police and an ambulance were already on the way. During the
They are in the middle of nowhere.
And an ambulance.
Where are we at? What the?
Way.
Yeah, they have a dirt. Where are y'all at? Y'all in the middle of Arkansas? What?
During the tense waiting period, Russell revealed that he'd been staying with his mother and her friend, Jodi Hildebrandt, since May. Terrifyingly, he added that he wasn't the only child in Jodi's house. His two sisters, ages 9 and 14, were still inside.
I'll take more.
As Russell underwent medical assessment, more police officers arrived.
We need to identify that house, and if there's 2 other kids there,
This is a crazy place to have your house, though. Like, any type of service, like, you need internet to happen. They have to come into the middle of nowhere. You need a plumber. You need anything surrounded by just mountains. There's no civilization nearby. You can't even probably make a garden out here. This is off topic, but this is not a place I would want to live. Also, how long did that kid have to walk?
Need to go do a security sweep of that house.
They were about to realize that they'd gotten there in the nick of time. As the police staged in Dan's driveway, a woman drove up in her car and announced that she was searching for a 12-year-old boy. She gave her name as none other than Jodi Hildebrandt, the woman Russell said his family had been staying with. Cleverly, the police didn't tell Jodi how much they already knew. They just took down her address and said they would come to speak with her shortly. She didn't have to wait long.
I'd be terrified. They live in the middle of nowhere too? So the kids can't look for help. Gotta be the only reason, because why else would you want a house here? I feel like you gotta be hiding something. But that would be discrediting the older folks who help the boys out. But I don't know. I wouldn't want to be in the middle of nowhere where there is nothing. Like, I feel like being in the middle of nowhere in the country, you can, like, there were garden and there's trees. If I'm stuck in the middle of nowhere with cacti? I don't want to be. Why would I want this to be the only green I see?
Green. Police officers, open up!
It is a nice house. Where is that?
Right there.
Contact. Got moving, Michael.
Open the door!
Jodi, I need you to step out.
I have my attorney.
That's great. Step out of the house.
No, I'm not gonna step out of the
Step
house.
out of the house.
Step out of the house.
Whoa.
Y'all have a warrant?
Whoa.
Is there anybody else home?
Wait a minute, how do you come to my house?
Right there.
They come into my house. Do you have a search warrant?
We'll explain it after this.
You can't just come into my house without a search warrant.
Do they not
Jodi
have
was
a search
mistaken
warrant?
about the need for a warrant to enter the home because the
teach me
police
some.
already had probable cause due to a 911 call that the
Teach me
neighbors had
some.
placed
Okay.
after Russell showed up at their door. There was a
Okay.
clear
I
emergent
love
need to
learning.
enter, and a warrant wasn't necessary. The police must account for the welfare of the other two children. They certainly had their work cut out for them, though, because the house was massive. During the search,
Jesus. But this house is in the middle of nowhere, so it gotta be. It's definitely cheap. Not cheap, but it definitely costs less than we probably expect.
the police found one room.
Why would you even try to fight the police to let them in? Because if they don't have a search warrant, like most of the time, it's like you have no right to enter. So it's kind of like when if the police ask you a bunch of questions, if you literally just minding your business and your police like pull you over and start asking you a bunch of questions, you're like, why am I getting pulled over? Like, that's what you're thinking. I've gone to the grocery store and I'm going back home. Why am I getting pulled over type of thing? If the police came to your door and started knocking, like you'd be like, why do y'all need to come inside? Because you don't feel like you did anything wrong. So
that appeared to be set
I think
up
it's
for
something
filming.
along of that.
This, they would learn, was because Jodi and Ruby both had a significant online presence.
Wait, what you say?
During the search, the police found one room that appeared to be set up for filming.
They have a TV behind them. This is there's a lot of, it's just a...
This, they would learn, was because Jodi and Ruby both had a significant online presence.
I guess that's what
More
happens
details would emerge throughout the investigation, revealing the dark side of these social media.
I say soulless because, like, obviously it's a staged room, but, like, besides the prop behind them, the room looks like it has no soul. Like, there's no life, but I assume that's probably what a lot of big, like, YouTubers, what they got going on, big content creators, whatever you want to call it.
Influencers. To ensure that they left no corner unchecked, the investigators retrieved the blueprints of the house. This turned out to be a brilliant idea.
I don't even know where mine are.
Something that might have been overlooked otherwise. Outside, Jodi did not appear to be shy about expressing her displeasure at the intrusion.
I have Airbnb guests over there. Probably scared them to death.
Okay. Is there anybody else in the house?
Yes.
Why would someone want to be in an Airbnb?
There's a little girl.
Why would anyone want to be in an Airbnb here in the middle of nowhere?
One.
She's right over here.
Okay.
The Airbnb guests were the least of the police's worries right now. Following Jodi's instructions, they made their way down the hall to a bathroom with a large closet. What they found inside was devastating.
Hi, I'm a police officer. Are you going to put a union here? Hey, you okay?
Oh, she don't look like
Is this you in here?
Look at her arm. She don't look like
I'm Sergeant Tobler. What's your name? I just have one. Where's your sister at? Contact one. You okay? Huh? You doing okay? You don't want to talk to me?
She don't look like she be eating at all, bro. Look
That's
at her
okay.
arm.
Can you come with me though? We got Jodi out here. You know Jodi?
According to the information Jodi gave, this was Russell's 9-year-old sister Eve.
You can't really tell. You couldn't really tell with Russell because Russell has the shirt on and they blurred out his legs, but you can really tell with Eve.
We want to be best buddies, but we're getting a little mad here because he won't give me his suit. Guess what?
Source YouTube 8 passengers. Oh. Okay, I remember seeing something about them doing something bad. I think it was on, like, I think it was Sunny V2's channel, but it didn't go in depth. Okay.
Learned how to ride a bike with no training wheels. Come here, I'll show you.
Despite the officer's gentle approach, she sat eerily still and quiet,
like
hardly giving a sign that she could even hear him.
You take your time, bud. I'm in no hurry. I'm a police officer. Did you know that? I don't mean to hurt you at all.
Like I wonder how, like, the mental of kids like this, like, how do they think differently than a child who's going to be raised in better conditions. But I'm always curious, like, not why, but how differently, like, what do they think this situation is right now? Like, what's running through her mind?
Yeah.
Shout out Russell though. I want to know how far he had to walk.
Do you need help?
If old girl had to hop in a car to try to look around for the child, then, you know?
I'm not going to hurt you. Promise. See this right here? It's a badge. It tells me I don't hurt people. I'm just here to make sure you're okay.
You're not
And I
moving
get
a
if you're
muscle.
scared. I would be too. Okay?
Why is she not saying
You
anything?
want to come with me?
Still, Eve didn't respond. They hatched a new plan to win her over with pizza. While they waited for the food to arrive, the officers kept her company with the utmost patience, refusing to rush her out of the closet until she made the choice to leave.
I'm just gonna sit down. It's okay if I just sit here with you.
So
We don't have to say
thin,
anything
bro.
if you don't want to. Okay? I'll just sit here with you.
Meanwhile, back with Russell, the EMTs got a close-up look at the duct tape and wounds around his ankles. What they found was almost unspeakably gruesome. But even this was overshadowed by what Russell said next.
I wonder,
In
like,
between
where are the parents at? Like the mom is there. I want to know where the dad is, though.
Of the snacks from the neighbors, he told the police officer documenting his injuries additional details, which made the situation all the more sickening.
You're not in trouble with me, okay? We're just trying to figure out what's going on. Our main focus right now is you, okay? Who put the ropes on
The dad
you?
left the family?
What's to help you out?
The police report revealed the chilling answers that were redacted in the body cam footage.
Oh.
Russell said that Jodi and his mother, Ruby Franke, had restrained him with ropes to help him with what he'd been choosing.
What does that even mean? Okay. I arrived at the house, observed male juvenile sitting on a chair. I observed plastic wrap and duct tape around the juvenile's wrists, ankles. I asked the juvenile his name and child one, his skin was coming off. Hold on, they were trying to remove the bandages of child one. His skin was coming off. Medical personnel placed the plastic wrap and duct tape in 4 separate paper bags labeled which extremity they were removed from. Coming off. I don't want an example, but I'm hearing skin is coming off. Like how much? Let's keep it pushing.
Ruby Franke had restrained him with ropes to help him with what he'd been choosing. How the women had chosen to treat the resulting wounds left EMTs puzzled. The officer who spoke with Russell repeated the distressing details to his supervisor on the phone.
They put cayenne pepper mixed with honey and then covered that with the plastic saran
Why?
wrap and then the duct tape over the wounds.
Detectives had found evidence of the honey and cayenne mixture in the upstairs
That's what that was in the trash can. What?
bathroom, along with more ropes, used bandages, and other wound dressings.
A medical got there, they started cutting the stuff off him, and then you can see like the dark around his ankles. You could smell it. When they went to go peel it, they thought it was some of the dressing. It was actually his skin that was peeling.
Obviously, the police wanted to talk to Russell's mother to understand what could possess someone to treat a child in such a manner. As of yet, though, Ruby Franke, along with Russell's older sister, were still unaccounted for.
Where's Ruby
Jodi
at?
certainly wasn't sharing where Ruby was, as her behavior became increasingly strange as the house search continued. When this officer seemed unreceptive to her stare, she tried a different target.
You waiting for me to say something, or? Okay.
Inside, the search went on for more children, especially Julie, the older sister Russell said was at Jodi's house. There was no sign of her yet, so the police decided it was time to confront Jodi about what they found when referencing the blueprints.
I want a
reference. A safe room in the basement, locked with a vault door.
A safe? Oh yeah, you know. Why do you need a safe that big in the house? They must have a secret room somewhere they could just open with a pull of a book. Like, what is going on here?
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
You have a room downstairs that has a safe wheel on the front.
Mm-hmm.
How do we get access to that to ensure that there's no one else in this home?
Adam.
They do need to search that there's nobody else, so I think you can give them access to
make sure there's nothing in there.
After further back and forth to get the lock combination from Jodi, a team returned to the basement to open the safe. Upstairs, additional officers were still trying to gain the trust of the little girl in the bathroom closet.
Found dead skin.
She found dead skin.
Dead skin.
Get out from underneath my bed. Right now.
Sorry, Mom.
I am more upset that you came in my room when you knew you weren't supposed to. You knew that it was a bad idea.
Yeah.
You're still gonna have the consequence of not having your nails done for a month.
Mom.
It's a deal. Give me a hug.
Mom, can I help you too to get paid? Because I want a lot of money.
You.
They likely.
What type of punishment is that? You came in my room? What's the male equivalent of that? You came in my room? I'm not throwing the ball with you for a month. Is that the male equivalent? They talking to a dad? You came in my room? No, I'm not going to take you to the park. No, we're not going to go on no walks. I think that's the best equivalent.
Hoped that the
That's
arrival of
crazy.
the pizza would change things in their favor, but they were in for yet another surprise.
And it's just fingernails too. Like, that's the craziest part. Like, it's fingernail. That's such a random thing to take away. That's so random. Over coming in your room.
Despite how painfully thin she appeared, Eve didn't go for the food right away.
What did O do? What did the parent? Oh, her arm's reaching for it. I don't know what these parents taught them. She got that Johnny Test slice. The cheese dripping
Eve
off.
proceeded to eat the entire pizza and requested 2 more large slices from the lunch that the police had. As Eve ate, the plan was to focus on opening the safe.
Oh.
But suddenly, a new priority emerged. With no warning, Ruby Franke, Russell and Eve's mother, arrived on scene. After determining that she had no weapons on her, she was taken to a separate area of the house to wait out the search. The police would check in with Ruby once they finished going through the house. The only place left to look was the basement safe room. When they opened the door, though, they were likely crushed. Julie was not inside. At
Julie
first
might have
glance,
ran
the
away.
room looked to be nothing more than a barren bolt hole reserved for emergency.
Huh?
At first glance, the room looked to be nothing more than a barren bolt hole reserved.
Hell nah. They are locking them kids in there. Nah, why is there a bedroom behind a vault door? There has to be a way to get out from the inside though. Gotta be. That would be the first thing to check. Nah, bro. That is a trafficking-esque type room.
For emergencies. When they started opening drawers, though, they turned up some stomach-churning evidence.
Handcuffs?
A length of rope, and a carabiner. Based on the
whole?
condition of evidence, handcuffs, a length of rope, and a carabiner.
Okay. I don't know what that is, so I'm about to look that up. I don't even feel comfortable saying that word. He said that he said that last part mighty strong. I'm not gonna lie, bro. Oh, those little circle thing. Oh, that's what they're called. We just called them clips. So these right here, that's what those are called. These little clips here. Black, 100 per box, $126.
Based on the condition of Russell and Eve, the police received an official search warrant that enabled them to collect these items, along with many of the electronics, as evidence. But even after being in the house for hours, there was still no sign of Julie or the...
Why do you have a bedroom with handcuffs and rope locked behind a vault? I don't like, it makes even less sense because if someone were to check your house, that's the place people are going to be the most curious about. They're going to be like, what is behind this random vault in your household? And if it's not a bunch of money, it's suspect. If I don't see a bunch of money or gold bars, I'm assuming you're doing the worst in it.
other Franke siblings. The only certain thing was what should happen with Jodi and Ruby. They were both placed under arrest for aggravated child abuse.
Okay, just place your hand behind your back for me. Perfect.
During the arrest process, the officers likely noticed some strange behavior from Ruby. She didn't say a single word, even when put in the back of a police car with Jodi. The police had to hope she would be more verbose when the time came to ask her how Russell and Eve had gotten in such miserable conditions.
Okay, go ahead and have a seat. She is definitely not a talker.
She not? Negative one.
Even if I ask her a name or just like, let me ask them about things, she looks at me and goes.
While Jodi was at least responding to direct questions, whether she would respond to the hard ones police had in store was yet to be seen.
I'm a little nervous.
You're that, you know, to be honest with you, if I was sitting over there, I'd be a little nervous too. So don't worry about it. We're just here to talk.
Where's the last child
So I
at?
trust my attorney. He said, don't say anything. And I said, I have nothing to hide. And he's like, I know that, but just let me be there with you when you talk.
Yeah, but where's the child at? Like a play date, friend's house, or did she run away too? Did the boy and girl go two opposite directions? No, they probably would have found her out there if they did.
So you guys seem nice people. I'd like to just tell you, but I don't know who you are. I don't know if you're gonna flip my words. I'm a psychologist. I've watched people flip things all the time. So I get it.
You're talking too much.
I sit on your side.
You're talking too
Get
much.
it. It looks sad that I don't want to answer anything, but it's not because I'm trying to be difficult.
Even though Jodi refused to talk without a lawyer, trying to get information from Ruby was astronomically more difficult.
We're just here to talk to you about kind of a few things involving your kids.
Why does no one care where Julie
Do
is?
you live down here or do you live up north?
I truly don't care about none of this. Where's Julie?
Do you want to talk to me about where you live or how many kids you have? You don't want to talk to us about anything?
So yeah, this is just your chance to tell us. We're just trying to get your side of the story.
Yeah, this is definitely not her
So
first
it's your
time being
chance to
interviewed
do
by the
that.
police. Julie
up
might
to
be
you.
dead.
Always
say
have
that.
a lawyer. Okay. So you don't want to talk to us at all?
There was hardly any doubt that the two women had done horrible things to Ruby's children. But with both women unwilling to talk, the police still had no idea why. Answers, though, were closer than anyone thought. When the detectives first got to the police station, they found a surprise visitor waiting.
Julie?
Ruby's husband, Kevin Franke, was there, and he wanted to pick up his kids. With so many burning questions pertaining to the Franke
Okay, where are these the other kids?
family,
Like, who are these other three? What is it?
Kevin was detained and taken to a third interrogation room where he was read his rights.
How did you find out that you needed to come here to the street?
I received a message that I needed to come pick up my kids from the police department in Highlands.
Who sent you that message?
And who was that message from?
Julie?
I prefer not to say right now.
Does it make sense that that would happen? I'm just not aware of anyone who did that from our department.
Right. And I'm not comfortable saying right now who reached out to me.
Okay.
Was that Jodi?
I'm not going to answer that question.
Kevin was keeping quite close-lipped. However, it wasn't all bad news. Back at Jodi's house, Eve
Julie?
finally seemed to be warming up to law enforcement.
You don't want to talk? Okay. There's nothing at all you want to talk about at all? It's okay to talk to me.
Maybe she just needed to talk to another woman. Big
Are
man can be
you
scary.
scared? We helped your brother. And we got him some help too. And that's what we want to do for you. If we want to get you some help too. We are safe. We will not hurt you, and we won't do anything to hurt you.
It took a total of 4 hours before Eve was willing to leave the closet with medical personnel.
Dang, she didn't
When
use the
examining
bathroom
her
or
in the
nothing?
ambulance, EMTs discovered that she had wounds on her feet and decided that she and Russell both needed to go to the hospital. Thankfully, as Kevin's conversation with police continued, he was willing to provide some crucial context.
And how many
Kevin,
kids
did
do you have, Kevin?
I have 6 kids.
Did you
So
know this
are
was
they all
happening
living
to
with-
your kids, Kevin? You definitely knew this was happening to your kids. Why did you let this happen to your kids, Kevin?
You or
No, I haven't seen them for over a year.
any of them
Oh.
No, none of them.
for a year?
Over a year.
Okay.
I've been in a separation
From who?
from my wife and family. Ruby invited me to leave the home
Mm-hmm.
while I thought about the choices that I've made in my life and the way that I've treated her.
And did you ever try to reach out to the kids, drop by the home, or was
I
there?
honored the no separation boundary that we agreed to.
That sounds like you took the
Last
easy
time
way
I-
out. I'm not gonna lie to you, bub. You had 6 kids, didn't check on none of them. You think one woman could take care of 6 kids on her own with no help? It sounds like you took the easy way out.
The last time I saw her
Yeah.
was the 18th of this month. We met to, she requested me to sign over vehicles, or the titles to the vehicle that she drives, that were all in my name.
When's the last time you physically saw Russell or Eve?
Or Julie.
The day that I moved out, July 24th, 2022. So my job is to financially provide for them.
I was trying to figure out like how much of a role do you play in the caretaking of specifically of those 2 kids?
0. Which is also a bad thing, by the way. It's good that you didn't harm them, but you also did kind of harm them by never seeing them and check up on them. So
I pay the bills.
Okay.
With my job, I provide the money, goes into a shared bank account, and that's my only involvement.
As the conversation went on, Kevin seemed to be just as in the dark as the investigators.
Who lives in that home with your, is it ex-wife? Is it currently a separated wife? Like who lives in that home with your children?
To be honest, I don't know. I know that she's there with.
you're not a good father.
4 of the children, and our 2 older children have moved out.
This likely came
so
as a
2
shock
moved
to
out.
investigators. If there were 4 Franke children still living at home,
Where
that
are the
meant
other
they
2
weren't
at?
just missing Julie, but another one of
Okay.
Russell's teenage sisters, Abby. Before launching into a frantic search, the detectives decided to finish talking to Kevin, hoping
Kevin,
he could give them an
you used
idea
a
of
lot,
where to
you
look
gave
for
a
the
lot of
girls.
useful
As the
information, but
conversation-
why have you not been in your kid's life for a whole entire year, Kevin? Because it sounded like you were in their life previously. What happened for you to be gone for a full 365,
Went
Kevin?
on, though, Kevin's story only got stranger.
Who's this female Jodi that your wife lives with? Do you know a female named Jodi?
She is a therapist and a life coach, I know. And
She
she's,
said she was a
Do
psychologist.
you respect her?
do I respect her? Yeah, I think she's a very honest, truthful person, yes.
Okay. Is your wife a partner of hers? Is your wife a roommate with her? Your kids are living in her house is what I'm trying to say.
I'm not aware of that, but I know that they've been in business for the last year filming. So every week a podcast goes up and I listen to it.
What's the name of it?
Connections with an X.
This would explain the film set discovered in Jodi's
Okay,
house.
so whose house were they in? They were in Jodi, and Jodi is not the wife. She is the friend. What's the wife's name? I forgot her name.
House. As it turned out, Jodi and Ruby both had
Ruby.
a significant
Ruby's the mom. They're not in Ruby's house. They're in Jodi's house.
following on Instagram and YouTube. Jodi was a therapist, and her accounts focused on counseling and family dynamics in alignment with the Church of Latter-day Saints, of which she and Ruby were both members. She called her program Connections and had written several books sharing her methods, and even taught online Zoom classes on the topics of family health and harmony.
So he was listening to a podcast on family health while actively not involved being with his family. Okay. It's the thought that counts? Question mark? It's the thought that counts, I guess?
Ruby, meanwhile, created more slice-of-life content, cataloging daily life with her family as members of the Mormon faith. Her main platform was a YouTube account titled 8 Passengers, supplemented with an Instagram under the same name. In due time, the police would learn that the content made by Ruby and Jodi had become unimaginably twisted.
Hold up. How many subscribers did the 8 Passengers have? It would June 2020 they had around 2.5 million subs and 1 billion views. The reason why I had to look it up this way is because their channel probably is taken down. Like there's no way their channel would still be up. So 2020, 1 billion views. Dang. And this is 3 years after that. They probably had like 5 million subs. Golly.
Behind the scenes.
That said 10K. That was the backup channel, and yeah, that wasn't the main channel.
Were you involved with their business efforts or no?
And were you involved in the 8 Passengers?
It's not taken down. The 8 channel is not popping up. Unless I'm supposed to put in the number 8. It doesn't matter, bro. It don't matter.
Account?
They were huge YouTubers. That's all that matters. They were huge.
With your family?
Yes. I was in the videos.
Recently, Ruby's online presence had undergone a shift. She rebranded to Truth Mom, but began focusing less on her own channel in favor of working with Jodi on Connections.
You guys got a lot of heat for neglect and child abuse. A lot of people commented those things on there.
Goodness.
Why were they commenting those things?
That's a good question. We had a son who was acting out in very selfish behavior.
What did you do?
Yes, this was Chad. And none of this is strange or odd. You could get on YouTube and find out all sorts of stuff on this.
Eventually, Ruby stopped posting on her private YouTube account altogether, which Kevin said eliminated 90% of the family's income. Her last video on Jodi's channel, though, had come out just 2 days ago. In the interrogation room, Kevin shared more about the situation, which led to public outcry against the Frankes.
He was being very cruel and mean.
Okay, so moved out. So he's one of the older kids who moved out.
That he shared a room with. And so we removed him from the room. And we said, you can sleep anywhere you want. Sleep on the couch, sleep on the pull-out bed, sleep on the floor for all we care, but you're not sleeping in that room with your brother. He chose to sleep on a beanbag.
Okay.
So 9 months later,
9 months?
He had made a lot of changes in his life. And he was ready to, and we had moved by that time.
Wait, he was sleeping in like a beanbag for 9 months? I was like, because I'm listening and I'm like, if you're being mean, depending, we don't know how mean he's really being. He could have like snatched a lollipop out of his hand for all we know. But I'm like, okay, telling your kid, hey, for the next 3 days, you gotta sleep on the couch or sleep on a beanbag. Like that's not horrible. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't call that child abuse, but was it 9 months? Like a lot of details not being figured out here, man.
So we had a new house and he was ready to move into his own bedroom. Made a video about it.
Made a home, okay.
In the video, he mentioned something of the effect of, I've been sleeping for 9 months on a beanbag.
There we go. 9 months is crazy. 9 months, that is crazy.
Back. And that is what all the uproar was about.
This wasn't Ruby's only run-in with the law. Shockingly, just 5 days before her arrest, she'd been pulled over while driving with her kids in the car.
Hello. You know how fast you're going right there? No. Okay. Got you going 57 and a 35.
Ruby was sent on her way with only a speeding ticket. Back with Kevin, he explained that the situation with his oldest son, Chad, was the catalyst for Jodi getting involved with the family. She was hired as Chad's therapist and had the boy personally paying her $900 a month.
So she got involved with the child. She saw the money being made and was like, maybe I should join in on the abuse.
There, her involvement with the family only grew. How this could have led to the breakup of the family and the near starvation of 2 of the children was yet to be explored.
During your marriage, how was disciplining your kids? How would you discipline your kids?
Yeah, I'm not going to answer that question.
Are you aware of the physical
Why aren't you answering that question? No, why aren't you answering that question? See, it's don't, but that's what I'm saying. Like, he's not a good dad if he went 365 days without checking on his children. Point blank, period.
condition of your children?
No, I've chosen to trust my wife with the children. That was part of the agreement of our separation.
Kevin was about to learn the harrowing consequences this decision has caused.
We received a phone call from 911 on our dispatch that a 12 to 13-year-old boy was knocking on doors.
I thought he was like 8 or 9.
For food and water. So he had.
I'm sorry, what?
He had duct tape on his extremities, on his hands, on his ankles, and those were covering rope burns that were used to tie him down. Take a second and think about what I just said. That's the condition of your son.
I don't know, man. I don't know about this dad, man.
Given that information, your son.
I don't like how he didn't answer that discipline question. I don't like it. Wonder if his discipline was worse. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, what was his discipline, bro? One of them was having a grown child, which is kind of a oxymoron, but having a grown child sleeping on a beanbag for 9 months. I already know he whoops his kids. Just how badly? Do you get a switch off a tree? Y'all in the middle of the desert. There are no switches. Do you use a cactus? No, what is your discipline, bro? 8 days without food?
Son was taken to the hospital. A warrant has been applied and granted by the Department of Child and Family Services to remove both Russell and Eve from your wife's care. Do you understand that?
I understand.
Would you condone that behavior?
Would I condone that behavior?
That's my job. My job is to find out your knowledge of the treatment of these
based
precious
on your description,
children.
No. But again, I don't know the details or I don't know what's going on, but as you described that sounds horrible.
Disgusting. No human being should be treated like that.
I don't know. He's not pissed off enough for me. As a dad, someone would be like, you condone that the behavior. Do I condone that behavior? That would piss me off, personally. I'd be pissed off. What do you mean, do I condone? Do I look like look me in my eye, like, bro, you're just rubbing your fake tears away. I don't trust him.
The investigators stepped out to give Kevin a few private moments to come to terms with what he'd just learned.
his face is not, oh my goodness, my children. His face is, oh my goodness, they caught on to what we did to his children. I don't trust Kevin.
When the investigative
Where's
team returned
Julie?
10 minutes later, Kevin took the opportunity to ask a burning question.
Where's Julie?
What's going to happen with my wife? I love my wife.
What are you talking about your wife for? See? I love my wife. I haven't seen her in 365 days. This is full of baloney.
I don't know. I'm being honest with you. I don't know. Haven't had anything to do with
I don't have those charges against my wife.
Possibly. See? Him only being concerned with the wife lets you know what his priority is, bro. Get on my screen, bro. Go back to the girl in the closet.
I think given
no, she's in the hospital right
that's
now.
Highly appropriate, but again,
That night, the police decided that Ruby would be booked into jail to await her attorney. Even this, though, failed to get a reaction from her.
Trace, you want to let you know what criminal charges for, so you're under arrest? It's going to be 2 counts, second-degree felony of child abuse or neglect, okay? You understand that or no?
Is she going to put you in Sandy or something?
I'm wondering if there's like a medical clearance that needs to, like, do you need medical attention before you go to the jail? Okay. Have you ever been arrested before? I'm just concerned about you. I know you don't believe that. But I've had an opportunity to talk to your husband and kind of worried about your circumstances and obviously your children as well. But you're sure you don't need medical attention or anything like that?
Just stone cold, I see.
Jodi, too, was escorted to a police car to be transported to jail facing the same charges. Still inside the police station, Kevin learns more from the investigators about the children.
And so, I mean, this feels like getting run over by a steam truck while you're sharing with me today.
Yeah, I can tell you're caught off guard.
I thought I was just coming here to pick up my kids, and for what, I don't know what or why, but...
Man, he wasn't crying until he realized he won't see his wife again. Get him out my face, bro. We're still looking for Julie.
With me. Everything you're sharing to me just sounds like a made-up story. Like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Like, it's just, it sounds like a horror movie. And what you're sharing with me just feels like a sucker punch. I feel responsible.
Should be.
Yeah,
you should.
It hurts.
Yeah.
I know you're all doing your jobs.
I don't feel bad until I don't believe you, so I don't feel bad yet.
I appreciate that.
Maybe this is just edited for, maybe, you know what, let's take the benefit of the doubt. Maybe this was edited in a way to make him look like he cared about his wife more than his kids. Maybe this happened first. You know what I'm saying? This happened first and then he asked about we don't know. We don't know. Anything can be happen with editing. That's why when you're watching reality TV shows and they're making one person look bad and they're confused why everyone thinks they are a bad person, is because it was edited that way. You can edit anything to make anyone look like anything. So I don't know. But going based off what I'm being presented, I don't trust this man.
Thank you. Thanks. That means a lot.
I just want my kids back. I want my family back. My wife back.
It was doubtful either Ruby or Jodi would be getting out of jail anytime soon. Jodi grappled with this through the lens of religion while speaking with a friend she called from the county jail.
And I don't know if I'm going to be like some kind of example, but when I get out of here, I have a story to tell, and I'm going to try to do everything I can to protect the children, because that's what's happening, is that kids are being just horribly abused. Well, I have just been begging him, like, you've got to explain this to me. Like, I cannot logically figure out what's going on here. I mean, I should be here. I haven't done anything wrong.
Ruby, too, made some equally baffling claims during her jailhouse phone calls.
What is she
But
talking
the
about?
most upsetting thing is that I am completely misunderstood. That is the most horrible feeling. Like my own family misunderstands me. They misinterpret me. And poor Jodi, they misinterpret her. They misunderstand her.
If you were able to raise a whole family and all of them misunderstand you, we know who the problem is. You have to think, these kids don't these children know you. They know that. They know you. They're with you all the time. You raise them from yay high. And if you do all that and you feel like those kids don't know you, hello.
She puts her neck out on the line for people, and then they get mad at her. I mean, it is just horrendous.
Also, you didn't say a word, so how are you gonna be like, oh,
and you know
they're
what?
misunderstanding? You didn't say
Joseph
nothing.
Smith, every
Joseph Smith.
wonderful man of God has had to be misunderstood. And I'm a good woman. I don't do naughty things. This is a witch hunt.
It wasn't all dark and twisted news, though.
Okay.
In a stroke of luck, the police located Julie and Abby.
Finally!
Shockingly, they were nowhere near the family home in Springville. Rather, they were located more than 20 miles away at a house belonging to Ruby's friend and fellow Connections member, Pam. How she'd gotten there, though, remained in question. Pam was handcuffed when the police arrived and agreed to answer some questions while waiting for additional investigators to arrive.
Man, it's just something about... Never mind, man.
While one officer sat with her, the other took the opportunity to check in with Julie.
Do you need medical attention at all? Okay. Is there a reason you're so scared right now? It's us? Okay. Well, I'm sorry if you've had a negative interaction with law enforcement in the past, okay? My intention is not to scare you. Do you go to school?
At least she looks like she eats.
Down the driveway, Pam was unhandcuffed when investigators arrived from Springville. She told them that she'd received a call from Ruby asking her to pick up two of her daughters while she dealt with a family emergency. Up until this point, the officers were under the impression that it was only Julie at the house, but Pam clarified that her older sister, Abby, was also there. Thankfully, neither she nor Julie appeared to be in physical distress like Russell or Eve. Julie and Abby appeared hesitant to go with DCFS representatives when they arrived, but were safely taken into custody to await the outcome of the investigation. The uncertainty over Abby and Julie's whereabouts had been answered, but so many questions remained.
Yeah, like
First
Pam,
and foremost,
like,
the quandary of what could have happened to leave Russell and Eve so frail and traumatized.
And Pam, like, what's that
Kevin
you
returned to
want?
the police station with his lawyer for a second interview. The additional details he was about to share were nothing short of astonishing.
Have you found the pen papers?
What does that mean?
The pen papers.
So it described all of the visions and trances and everything that Jodi and Ruby went into.
How thick would you say it was?
It was like 3 inches thick or so. And there were hundreds of pages of written
What is he talking about?
documents. It's something Jodi would not want found.
Yeah.
But she wouldn't want to destroy it.
Because we do have Ruby's journal, which is from those dates that you mentioned.
These things are going to be so... The stuff she wrote in the pen paper, she would not write in her journal. The stuff she wrote in the pen papers
What's in this pen paper?
was not intended to be read by...
What's in the pen paper? How do you know that it's not intended to be read? And then why did you still trust her with the children after? No, you didn't know Jodi was there. You know Jodi was a friend of, but you didn't know they were living together. Still, you still know a lot about Jodi, man. How do you know this personal information about Jodi when she was just a therapist? And not your therapist. She was your child therapist. Why do you... Therapists are not supposed to share information with their children like... With the parents like that. What is your connection with Jodi? Huh?
By anybody until God would decree them to be written as scripture for the whole world to read.
Okay.
Were they friends?
I believe that's what we have.
It wasn't certain whether the documents found by the police were actually Ruby's pen papers or just a journal.
Did they all live together?
Regardless
I'm
of
so
what they were
confused.
called, the contents revealed a wealth of heinous secrets. On July 10th, 2022, Ruby wrote, "Eve and Russell have been in so much deviant behavior they won't control their bodily functions. I never would have suspected the cold, dead heart Russell has." Ruby echoed these sentiments in one of the phone calls she made from jail.
Adults have a really hard time understanding that children can be full of evil and what that takes to fight it.
According to the journal, Russell and Eve were locked in closets.
I mean, before they go into what they did to these children, that's not necessarily wrong. There are just people who are just bad. Like, no matter what, no matter how well they were raised, no, it doesn't matter. They're just bad. But I'm looking at what you're doing to these kids, and something tells me they're not inherently bad. Something's making them like this, okay?
Made to do physical labor, wall sits, jump on a trampoline, stand out in the rain, made to...
That takes to fight it.
According to the journal, Russell and Eve were locked in closets, made to do physical labor, wall sits, jump on a trampoline, stand out in the rain, and carry heavy boxes up and down the stairs for hours on end. When Eve slipped and fell while carrying the boxes, Ruby accused her of doing so on purpose, and then shaved her head as punishment.
What? Some of those punishments I'm definitely going to write down, because wall sits, I never thought of wall sits as a punishment. That's a great punishment. Not going to have them doing it for hours. You know what I'm saying? Wall sits is a great punishment, though. Locked in closets, like, what does that do? I guess that's kind of like time out. Go sit in the corner. How long were they locked in the closet, I guess? Like, walk up down the steps for hours? Okay, wait. Woke up, she cried, buzzing, she's gonna sit. I told her because she didn't listen the night before, she would do 2 sets of box/stairs with a 5-minute break. She did the first set easy and agreeable. After 5 minutes of rest, she began.
And this was just brushing the surface of what the children endured.
I've never had a kid quite like Eve, but she does not like to sit and listen. I don't know if that's just her personality and she just needs me to be more strict with her than what was required with some of the other kids, or if she is displaying hyperactivity tendencies. So I'm gonna try to figure that out today. I honestly don't know which way it's gonna go. She knows that I mean it, and I'm gonna carry through with it. If she absolutely is not capable, then I'm going to
I've never raised a child, so I don't know.
take further measures to figure out if there's hyperactivity tendencies going on, or if she stays and she's really good and she listens, then
That's why I'm gonna throw my kids in track, just in case I got too much energy to burn. Ain't nothing can burn more energy than just running in a circle. Nothing's about to burn more energy, baby. You know you getting thrown that track, you're gonna be exhausted one way or another.
It probably just means she needs a little bit more of a strict routine with her.
According to Kevin, the fight against so-called evil had not originated with the children. In fact, the downward spiral had begun more than a year prior under some very strange circumstances.
We went out to like a dinner afterwards, and that's where Jodi really opened up to the women in a private conversation that she believed she was being tormented and haunted by shadow figures every night.
Should have reported that to some medical institution as soon as she said that. I would have stopped listening to her the moment that happened. I immediately started calling some medical institution, some mental hospital.
And that was spooky.
Ruby also revealed that Russell and Eve still sometimes failed to control their bodily functions. She presented this as a method by which they defied her. Back with
You can't control when you pee and poo? Oh, so we must have a problem, huh? Oh, you must not like me, huh? Okay, I'll remember that.
Kevin, he alleged that Jodi's experiences had rapidly grown more intense.
She was walking along the beach with Jesus.
With who?
Jesus challenged her to go walk on the...
Nah, when did she meet Jesus? How did that happen? I thought she was Mormon. Does Mormon believe in Jesus? I don't know. They believe in Joseph. So why was she with Jesus? Joseph's gonna side eye you.
The water, and it was a whole lesson. Challenged her to go walk on the water, and it was a whole lesson on walking on the water.
And that was still just the tip of the iceberg.
And y'all still kept her around? Yeah.
The more investigators read of Ruby's journal, the more depraved the story became. Tuesday, big day for evil, she wrote on July 11th.
Half-Life 2.
All night, Eve screamed and cried
2?
and hit her head on the tile floor. Today, Jodi confronted her. Eve admits to putting on a show for her mother. Eve said she wants to be pitiful. When the investigators read on and learned what torment Eve had endured to reach this level of desperation, they likely didn't know whether to be enraged or heartbroken. Jodi mentioned her experiences with what she called the spirit in one of her jail phone calls.
When I feel the spirit, I have two physiological reactions. I get really like shaky, like I'm shivering, like I'm cold, or I feel heat, like I have a fever run through me. It felt like I was burning up.
Lady, that is the flu. I hate to break it to you, but that is not the spirit. That is called the flu. You need a hospital.
And I was just shaking with gratitude. Like, here's your answer. Here's what this is.
Back with Kevin, he revealed that while Jodi's alleged visions had initially seemed positive, things quickly took a much darker turn, and things changed inside the house.
There was a lot of satanic ones. When she would go into possession,
why was she in your house? I don't understand that.
She would talk in like different
I
voices.
sworn she was a
it was really
therapist.
creepy. But the voices would say, "She's ours. We're not letting go. She is Satan's bride. She's mine. I'm going to marry her." If she was faking it,
and then you will wonder why the children know the way they are or how they act the way they do. They had someone in their house talking about they're Satan's wife. Hello? No alerts, no alarms went off to anyone?
Believed that Satan wanted her as her bride.
The journal revealed that Eve experienced horrific punishments. This is the day Eve anticipates breaking her 2-day fast, Ruby wrote. I let Russell know she has hardened her heart and will do one more day of fasting to invite her to humble.
What? 2-day fast and she about to do a third? And she wrote it all down too.
Eve flips out and begins ranting. All day, Eve makes rhymes about "my mom starves me" and calls it fasting. In his second interview, Kevin continued his description of what it was like to live with Jodi.
I can't explain some of the stuff that happened while we were there.
Oh, and y'all never kicked her out? Y'all never moved? Y'all never moved. You were a grown man with your own paycheck. You never moved. You couldn't go to an apartment? We got too many kids for one apartment. Then rent out 2. Lease out 2, I mean.
Like crashes and
I wonder if there's like any aunts, uncles, distant cousins looking at them like, this is what they were on? Hello?
in the basement while we were talking upstairs. And plates like in the kitchen just flying off by themselves, like full speed, smashing on the wall and falling to the floor. And I don't have any way to explain it other than there's some crazy going on.
So you think Jodi was possessed, throwing around, and she could control with the force plates just flying around everywhere? That's what you're trying to convince me. And you kept your kids there. You kept letting this woman be here. You pissing me off.
On other occasions, Eve was doused with water in the dog wash and made to sleep on the basement floor. And it only got worse going forward. Kevin, too, said that back in 2021, the situation with Jodi took a similar downward trajectory.
Wait. This just dawned upon me. Why is Jodi the one picking out punishments for your children? She's not the mom. Why is Jodi picking out the punishments? She's not the parent. You're not even part of the family. Yo, I like the way Jodi was acting, I forgot she wasn't the mom this whole time. I forgot they weren't relatives. Yo, what?
She became increasingly entwined with his family.
But it reached the point where in August, her bishop at the time, he's not her bishop anymore, but I mean, he was going over there every night, and he'd be there for like 4 hours. Then he'd be like, I'm fighting evil spirits.
He is trying to clap cheeks. Oh my goodness.
Casting demons out. Crazy stuff going on. And finally he got to the point where he's like, I can't do this anymore. Like, there needs to be some sort of resolution.
Okay, maybe he
After
wasn't,
the
'cause he
bishop
gave up.
left, the first attempted fix was for Jodi to move in with another family involved with connections. The opinions Kevin shared about what happened with that family reflect only his beliefs, and we have not been able to verify them.
According to that,
I figured.
After 6 weeks and trying to seduce the husband of the family, they kicked her out.
While there was no way to prove that Jodi had been held against her will, the police knew for a fact that Russell and Eve had been. Ruby documented one
Let me go get the sticky stuff on my fingers.
particularly horrific confrontation between Russell and Jodi, whom she refers to frequently as particularly horrific fact that Russell and Eve had been. Ruby documented one particularly horrific confrontation between Russell and Jodi, whom she refers to frequently as G-Joe. G-Joe takes Russell on a little walk to the pool, Ruby wrote. She talks on how Russell has love twisted. G-Joe then pushed Russell into the pool. Meanwhile, Kevin recounted the events after Jodi either escaped or was kicked out of the other family's home.
It was at that point that they said, why don't you take her up to your house? And I was like, oh, hell no. I don't want this in my house. But
Wait, so was she not already in y'all house? Like, where was she at before? I'm actually getting lost. So was she not living with y'all already? Because it made it sound like y'all were at her house, or I mean, she was at y'all house, or were y'all at her house? I don't know.
I was beaten over the head with it. Like, that's really insensitive. You know, she's done so much to help our family, and you're being selfish.
Walker TikTok attention span, bruh. Just let me know who house she was just at, because she just got kicked out of that family's house. Where was she before that?
And she has needs.
I'm lost.
And come on, like, it won't be for long. And so I relented, and I was like, okay.
Later in his second interview,
Man, like
Kevin
I said, he don't really care about his children. No father about to put their child in harm's way just because of some random
told the police about the drastic changes that took place in the Franke house after Jodi moved in.
The moment she showed up in my house, just the weirdest crap started happening. Lights turning on and off, sounds of people walking in walls, and like sounds like footprints going up walls and across the ceiling, and stuff floating around. And I became the resident exorcist. That was the title I came up with myself.
What type of story flip did we go here?
To, like, go into a trance.
Like, I feel like we got hit with a nasty plot twist that just ruined the story. What are you talking about right now? Why are we still paying attention to this? I want to know about the other children. I want to know why Julie is uncomfortable around the police. Why are we still on this tale of them, of her be controlling spirits and whatnot? Like, y'all been on this too long.
And go into possession, which started to be a lot. And Ruby would go up and check on her. It started like every 4 hours at night, and then it moved every 2 hours at night, then it moved every hour at night, and then at some point Ruby said, you know what, I'm just going to start sleeping in there, and if I need you, I'll come down and get you.
Kevin said that Ruby and Jodi began sleeping in the same bed. However, this was only the beginning, and soon Kevin noticed that he was being subjected to unique restrictions.
I could leave when I wanted, but I couldn't come back until Ruby gave me permission. I couldn't come into the kitchen to eat until Ruby gave me permission. And the upstairs where Jodi roamed
was completely off limits.
That's your
Ruby
house,
would
is it
dictate
not?
all of the terms of how our interactions would be when we would talk. No matter what I did, no matter how like much I tried to track better, be, you know, truthful and not be selfish. Every week it was like, you're being manipulative, you're being selfish, you're lying.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, Kevin. Would have been took my children and left. Personally speaking, I would have been dipped with my kids.
You're hiding something.
I would have, if it's under the house under my name, I would have been kicked them out. Jodi wouldn't have been near my house. The wife had to go too. What are we talking about?
You're still hiding stuff. And I really started to like question my sanity, honestly. It became more and more and more and more and more isolated. Jodi had an approved list of men that I could make phone calls to.
This appeared to be
And
a
why are
method
you listening to her? Who is Jodi? Jodi had an approved list of men I could talk to. F Jodi!
Ruby repeated with Russell at Jodi's house. Ruby recounted in the journal how she woke one night to find Russell missing and a note written in pebbles on the balcony which read, "Jail. I will call when I get there." Panicked, Ruby said she and Jodi how she method Ruby
list of men that I can make phone calls to.
This appeared to be a method Ruby repeated with Russell at Jodi's house.
A method Ruby would repeated with Russell at...
Ruby recounted in the journal how she woke one night to find Russell missing and a note written in pebbles on the balcony which read, "Jail. I will call when I get there."
Okay.
Panicked, Ruby said she and Jodi searched the house, then got in their cars and began driving around looking for Russell, which Ruby described as racing the devil.
What?
They brought him home. Disturbingly, she went on to describe the concession of letting Russell sleep in a bed and feeding him a full meal the next day as like stitching up a patient knowing you didn't get all the cancer out.
Okay, look at me. Don't say help anymore.
You just said it.
Yeah, so I'm very clear what I'm talking about. Don't
That's
say
such a
that
child
again.
answer.
Do you understand? Because next time you won't be smiling on your face.
Kevin explained that the situation never improved as everyone tried to appease Jodi and Ruby.
So I was completely cut off. You know, if I went to my church leaders, I was seeking enablement. If I went to my family, I was seeking enablement. If I went to anybody,
They manipulated and gaslit the mess out of him. He must have not had he couldn't have had a strong sense of himself while raising his kids for him to allow himself to get gaslit like this. He's been raising these kids for years. Those are like these aren't just newborn. Like he's been raising these kids for years, and now all of a sudden he feeling like he doing something wrong. Like he wasn't.
I was seeking.
I don't know, bro.
I felt trapped, and that's where I was all the way up until the last week of July, when Jodi called me one day out of the blue and just said, "I don't understand why you're not getting it."
While everything the police had learned so far was certainly horrific, they would soon realize that it almost got unimaginably worse for the children. Based on the journal entries, the authors believed that the children's bodies needed to be engaged in painful good work as punishment. Just as Ruby and Jodi set out to look for rural land in Arizona for the Franke children to work, Ruby got a text. "I found the land." As the move to Arizona loomed dangerously closer, it became obvious that the women wanted the pair to choose punishment over respite. In an emotional phone call made from her jail cell, Jodi had this to say on the topic.
Nobody wants the truth. Nobody wants the truth. Nobody wants the truth because these kids, I told Doug, I woke up, the spirit told me, it's all the devil. I mean, you've seen him. And he uses these kids. And he uses all of us as the adults, the parents that don't hold the kids accountable. So now it's abusive to make a kid sleep on the floor. It's abusive. Or it's abusive to, that's ridiculous. You can't even raise your kids anymore.
This was the sort of stance Jodi put forth through her program, Connections. At its peak, her Instagram had over 10,000 followers, leaving the police to wonder just how many other children might have suffered the ramifications of her influence. Later, in the midst of the investigation, Kevin continued his story of his family's breakdown.
So that separation continued all the way up until the holidays, maybe.
Where are Jodi's kids so she can raise her kids like that? You know what I mean? Where's Jodi's family at? Now, I don't think no kid should be raised like that. Let me preface that. But why is she taking all her learnings and treating it on a family that's not hers? Make your own family, Jodi. How are you teaching parents how to raise kids and you don't even have, like, what is your connection with children? When's the longest you've spent with your own children? Like, you literally don't know nothing. People without kids can give advice to parents, but not to the extent that you're giving advice to. You're talking about people can't raise their kids no more. Where are your kids?
And then Ruby ended that separation. Jodi went home the second week of January. But by that time,
I feel bad for these children, bro. They were raised by straight crazy, bro.
Determined to do this work.
Why were the kids at like y'all doing all this talk about how crazy Jodi is? Why were the kids at Pam's house? Like, how is Pam connect? Like, bro, y'all doing all this riffraff with Jodi, and it's getting annoying.
I thought it was crazy. Like, I thought it was just bad crazy.
When talking with Kevin, the police learned just how far Ruby was willing to go to pursue her work with Jodi.
She wanted to legally,
oh my goodness,
work with Jodi's attorney to give Jodi 8 passengers and become an employee of Connections. Basically, the contract was Ruby gives Jodi everything and Ruby gets nothing in return. Our YouTube manager at the time was like, red flags. Like, I don't know how to tell you. She is scamming you. Ruby fired him.
Regarding this issue of Ruby and Jodi's business
What about you, dog? You have no like presence. How you the father of a household and you got no presence in it? How you in a house with like 6 of your kids, 4 to 6 of your kids, and you have no presence? Yeah.
Entanglement. Ruby made some interesting claims in one of her calls from jail. In fact, she seemed to be changing her attitude towards Jodi entirely.
Jodi Hildebrandt never was my business partner, nor was I ever her employee. I never received wages from Connections or Jodi. In 2019, I hired her as a counselor for my son, and then in 2020, I paid her to be my mentor. She's a whirlpool. She just pulls you.
Regardless of any legal business arrangements, finances became an increasingly central component of the travesty that befell the Franke children. This became clear when police continued reading Ruby's journal and gained further insight into the disturbing reasons she and Jodi were looking into moving to Arizona. Jodi and I took Eve out into the desert, Ruby wrote. She went out into the heat, barefoot. Eve still tried to run. She screamed for another family, water, food, care, love. Oh, Eve, a manipulative ploy.
I told you, man, they want to be in the middle of nowhere so those kids couldn't go nowhere. That's why Russell had to walk about 10 miles or however long he had to walk just to find another family, bro. They literally wanted to isolate the children from everyone.
Ruby's journal entry about taking Eve to the desert became even more heartbreaking. Apparently, it was only after Eve collapsed on the road exhausted that Ruby took her home. But not for long. The very next day, Ruby, Russell, Eve, and Julie all returned to the desert.
Wait, so how did the guy knew about all this? Like, he knew that these were journals that she didn't want anyone to look in? But he didn't know what was in them? Like, how did he know they were so precious? They were so... I'm gonna stop asking questions, bro. He's not a good dad.
For the next 3 days, the children were made to weed and tidy a cemetery on a nearby Native American reservation. They were not allowed to wear shoes or gloves, despite the fact that there was broken glass and thorns everywhere. At one point, Russell became so desperate to escape the heat that he stuck his head in the toilet. Footage of this suffering was captured by a local, who explained in no uncertain terms to Ruby that she was not welcome there and that she would be filing a police report. This, Ruby wrote in her journal, was a sign that the devil does not want us to take Russell and Eve out of society.
All right.
Apparently, relocating to Arizona was their chosen method of avoiding further unwanted attention. One has to wonder how long the plan to get to Arizona was in process, though, based on an interaction Kevin mentioned happened before the separation.
Ruby started threatening me with another separation. And just like, this isn't about money, this is about doing God's work. So we continued in that dynamic for the next 6 or 7 months.
Just let her do whatever she wants, huh?
She went on a trip.
Never put your foot down.
Jodi and Pam down to Arizona. And I think they, like, when I read her journal, she went to Mexico or something and bought.
Wait, so you read the craziness?
Like
what?
Prescription drugs for emergency kits.
You read the craziness and he's still allowed.
When she came back from that trip, before she even brought the bags into the house, she pulled me in and said, I want to talk with you, and that's when she asked me to leave.
And so Kevin left and got an apartment in Springsville. At some subsequent point, Ruby also left the family home for the house in Ivans
I've never
to live
seen
with
a
Jodi,
less assertive
where the lives
man.
of her children would become a living nightmare. Back with Kevin, he said that when Ruby initiated contact again, he had no idea the sinister plan she had in store for their children.
Around that time, things
What did they be teaching at BYU for Kevin to be like this? He repping BYU this whole time. Like, what are they teaching y'all Mormons, man? What are they teaching y'all in college, man?
Ruby started, like, picking up, and I didn't understand why, but, like, Ruby wanted to meet in a parking lot and wanted me to sign over 2 of our cars, wanted me to sign them over to her name. I'm in total compliance mode at this point. Just like, I'm a good husband, you see?
What?
You can trust me.
Ruby's comments on the journal somehow managed to become even more disturbing. She wrote, "This girl would choose to be shot and die than to humble." Even that wasn't the most disturbing part, though, because after locking Eve in the closet overnight, they decided to treat her injuries from the cactus. Ruby said, the spirit was very strong.
What cactus injury? What did I miss? What do they say about what cactus?
As Julie and I witnessed Jodi cleaning what did not deserve to be cleaned, Kevin continued his story, discussing the moment he found that his family had disappeared to live in Ivans, leaving their own house empty.
But when I returned to the house, everything was packed up, and a neighbor came over and said she asked for the HOA rules and
my neck hurts.
Mentioned to him that she wanted to rent the house out. Which I was like, are you kidding me? And apparently she wanted to sell the house, but couldn't because my name was on the mortgage.
In another jail call, Ruby revealed that the Arizona scheme had gotten further along than anyone yet knew. One shudders to think what could have happened if Russell hadn't escaped before the move.
I pulled the money and I have it in a bag.
With you? Do the police have it?
Well, I don't know what the police took.
But the bag was at Jodi's house?
They can't just take people's money. I mean, that's not right.
In a stunning twist, the person on the other end of the phone was none other than Kevin himself. In the days following Ruby's arrest, the pair made several phone calls where Kevin tried to ensure he received custody of the children and secured the money that Ruby had pulled out. Kevin's demeanor towards Ruby in these calls might be unexpected.
Yeah, because he doesn't
I'm
care.
Committed to our family. I'm committed to you and our marriage. No matter what happens, I will be
yeah,
here
like
to
we
support
knew
you
this.
in any way that I can.
Well, thank you for stepping up.
During this call, Kevin
That's
and
why
Ruby
he was
agreed
like,
to
"Oh,
limit
my
their contact
wife,
going
she abused the children. Oh, that's why I married her. Raising the children the right way." Like,
forward to strengthen Kevin's chances of gaining legal custody of the children. A discovery made the next day, though, blew that out of the water.
The bag's gone.
What?
The bag is gone.
What?
this sounds
There's no
fake.
bag.
The only thing more
What
shocking than the
bag
bag's
of
disappearance
money?
was where Ruby had gotten the funds in the first
Where's
place.
the bag of money?
Kevin and his lawyer revealed the source of the missing $85,000 while speaking with police.
That money, she cleaned out their bank accounts.
The kids' savings accounts.
Yeah, and yours too, your joint account.
Yeah.
That's where that money came from.
Okay.
So I don't know if you can have, or if I need to have a discussion with the county attorney. Kevin would kind of like his kids' money back.
Unfortunately, tracking down the money and attempting to return it to the children would likely become a separate civil case.
Yeah.
While Ruby didn't comment on this directly while in jail, she had more thoughts to share the longer she was behind bars.
The devil is so sly.
You sure are.
And I'm embarrassed it took such a huge slap in the face to wake up to it.
On another call with her parents, Ruby proofread a court statement she wrote to address her children and acknowledge her actions.
I would do anything in this world for you. My willingness to sacrifice all for you was masterfully manipulated into something very ugly. I took
Manipulated
from you all
by
that was
what?
safe and soft and good. I took from you your mother. How terrifying this must have been for you. I will never, ever stop crying for hurting your tender souls. You are such a very precious part of me. I'm so very sorry.
But no apology in the world could begin to undo the horrible trauma experienced by the Franke children. In contrast to Ruby's attempt to make amends, Jodi's response was the same as it was at the beginning of the investigation.
The Lord says that first they'll lay their hands on you and persecute you,
Okay.
delivering you up to the synagogues and into prisons. And the
Okay.
children shall rise up against their parents and shall cause them to be put to death.
Okay.
That statement right there is what's going on with me. The children shall rise up and put their parents to death, and ye shall be hated of all men for my name's sake.
Ultimately,
That
Ruby
right,
and
Jodi?
Jodi were charged with 6 felony counts of child
Thank you. Get
abuse
'em
and
outta here.
neglect each. Rather than go to trial, Ruby and Jodi pleaded guilty to 4 counts of child abuse. Though their cases were adjudicated separately, they received the same sentences. On each count, Jodi and Ruby were sentenced to serve between 1 and 15 years in prison.
Huh?
The sentences were to be
1 to 15? What do you mean 1 to 15?
consecutive, meaning both women could be behind bars for up to 60 years, which
Oh, each count 1 to 15. Each count 1 to 15. Okay. I got you. Depending on how bad each one is. Okay.
could be the rest of their lives. Kevin continues to lobby for custody of his children, who were taken by DCFS
You are not
and
getting
placed
those
in
kids.
foster care. The Franke's oldest daughter, Sherry, is writing a book about her upbringing and has requested the public respect the privacy of her younger siblings as they attempt to recover. While their current status is unknown, we can only hope that the Franke children
know
are
that
at
book
long
about to be
last
crazy.
experiencing the kindness and gentleness that they deserve.
I know that book is gonna be crazy, bro. Why was she trying to hide behind? She was really trying to hide behind God and the devil. She said she was Satan. She went from saying she's Satan's wife to saying that the devil's after her or whatnot. Like, you're the one who said it. You wanted him to be after you. That lady is crazy. That lady was insane, but great video. Explore with us. A great video.